Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hello, I'm DJ Ross. I'm in Mountain View, California.
On every episode of Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. This week, we're finally talking about Death of the Reprobate, and we'll talk about Cryptmaster, and we'll dig a little deeper into things like Monster Hunter Wilds and Final Fantasy XIV.
Oh, that just feels like all I've been doing.
Monster Hunter and Final Fantasy XIV?
For the last 10 years. No, but especially for the last 2 weeks.
That's fun, though, right? I mean, that's...
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah. You need a game every now and then to be completely obsessed with.
Yeah. I was thinking just earlier today, actually, I was like, oh man, I remember when I was just playing Battlefield 3 all the time. Like in retrospect, that seems weird. But I think like there was this little window in between Monster Hunter on the PSP and Final Fantasy XIV coming out where Battlefield 3 existed. And I was just in there every night, like, what do you call it? Tuning up my guns or whatever, but trying to figure out what attachments are the best, and just playing that. That was so good.
Yeah, I think I played that one with you. I don't
probably. Yeah,
I don't have a lot of Battlefield experience, but I'm looking at a rack full of old video games here next to my desk, and I have Battlefield 3 for the PS3.
Yeah,
and the plastic is off of it, so I've probably played it at some point.
You at least open it up to look at the disc.
Yeah, and I wouldn't do that unless I was going to put it in the PS3 to play it. So that must have been played at some point.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That was one of those weird cases where I actually bought both the PS3 and the PC version because I had played all the previous ones on the PC, but I knew that you and some of the other people we played with were going to play on the PS3. So I was just like, I was also just way, way more into Battlefield back then, like as a series. So I was just like, sure, I'll buy 2 copies of this game. That seems reasonable.
And that was well before anyone figured out how to like cross-save across multiple platforms.
Oh, yeah. Otherwise, I probably just would have played on PC. I don't know if the new, I don't know if the latest Battlefield had cross-platform play.
Oh. I wasn't even thinking about cross-platform play. Oh, that's a good point, because if you were on PC and I was on PS3, would we be able to play? I was just thinking, like, could you use your character from the PS3 version in the PC version and vice versa?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That way you don't have to level up twice.
Yeah, that's always nice. Unless you really like leveling up. Right,
yeah. Unless you really like try to figure out which scope and attachment and gun stock you need on both computers, yeah.
I think that might have been at one point. Well, also I just didn't enjoy playing it on PS3 as much. I think it might have just been like the PC version. You had much larger maps. You could have more people on a team. So I think it was just a better experience. But yeah, at some point I was just like, oh yeah, I've got all these cool accessories. That's definitely not the right word. For my guns on the PC. I don't
belts and hats and a little scarf and stuff, right?
Yeah. No, I don't think they let you dress up your guy in that.
Oh, no, when you say accessories, that's what I think of.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, eventually they caught on, and now you can put all sorts of weird outfits on them. But no, back then it was just, super cool military stuff that you just strap onto your guns.
The white camo or the green camo?
Yeah. Did that game even have camo? I don't even remember.
I could not even imagine. I don't know.
Yeah.
The only the most definitive Battlefield memory I have is eventually because I always wanted to play medic because I was never good at shooting.
Yeah.
And I figured out eventually that not only could you use the little resuscitator paddles to revive your teammates, but if done properly, you could kill people with them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, my sort of self mission was to try to figure out how many deaths in a game I could get by zapping people with the what is that thing called?
The defibrillator.
Defibrillator paddles. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, nobody likes somebody who does that.
Oh, I didn't get any complaints.
I mean, it's fine. It's just you're being a bit of a troll to the other team because you also have a knife which does the same thing and is much more effective at doing it. But there are people who are just like, you know what? I'm going to use this thing which is not suited to kill people on the team and just see how many times I can do that.
It's the duality of man. It's the duality of man in Battlefield. I can revive my friends with it, or I can kill my enemies with it.
Yeah, I mean, that way you don't have to switch tools. So, that has that going for it, at least.
That's true. I probably didn't know how to switch weapons, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember being in a tank with you and a number of other players, and nobody wanted to drive it. So we all just sat there fighting over who was going to drive.
Well, what? I'll drive it.
You drive the tank? Yeah.
Yeah. I always
drive the helicopter.
The tank. No, don't drive the helicopter. Somebody else can do that. I will just put that thing immediately into the ground.
Yeah. But yeah,
I'll sit in the gunner seat all day. That was like one of my favorite things to do. Yeah. Because you just sit there and rack up free points because the helicopters are so overpowered. And you don't have to fly. It turned into, just playing a point and click sort of deal where you just like click on people running around and you got points for it.
And they die.
Yeah.
Yeah. While someone in the backseat just plays the Ride of the Valkyries over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Man, shout out to pilots in those games. That, like, some people just really love flying the helicopters around, and they are super good at it. And it was like, oh man, take me as your gunner. I want to be the
gunner. Good times. Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe we need to get a Battlefield night going. Let's fire it up.
I hope that new one's good. I mean, it's probably years out at this point, but I was just thinking, like, I kind of missed that whole, like, spending evenings poring over, like, gun stats and accuracy ratings and all that stuff.
Yeah, I've had one of those in a long time. It was never really my thing. I flirted occasionally with games like Killzone 2, I think I was a big fan of. Mm-hmm. And Gears of War, of course, and stuff like that. But like the Super War game ones, Call of Duty, Battlefield, never really my thing. I like what was it? Battlefield, Bad Company. I like those games, but mostly those were about the campaigns. They did have online, but yeah, never so much with the kill-death ratio. I would always sort of live for about 15 seconds before somebody got a headshot on me from across the map, and I'd be frustrated and not want to play anymore.
Wow. Yeah, that's the first thing you got to learn is just how to not die.
And keep your head down.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope the new one's cool. Good. I was just thinking, like, the new Monster Hunter has crossplay. Thankfully, I think it's the first one that has that.
Oh, but wow.
It doesn't have cross-save, so you have to decide, you have to pick a platform, and then you're just stuck there. And I was like, come on, guys, how can you have this one thing and not the other thing, which seem very similar? I mean,
but you can play with your friends who are stuck on other platforms, though.
Yes, yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, I'm not a developer. I'm sure it's much more complicated than I'm making it sound to just add this cross-compatibility thing, but it is disappointing. I just like, we're so close. We almost made it.
Well, I mean, a lot of those online, I mean, certainly Fortnite does it, obviously, but like Fall Guys, you could log in on any game, any system, and it would import your save and your progress.
Yeah.
So if Fall Guys can do it, Capcom can do it with Monster Hunter.
I heard Vampire Survivors is getting cross-save in the near future. If it hasn't come out already, that news is a few weeks old at this point, but I'm just like, oh man, that's another thing where I sort of maintain saves on multiple platforms at this point. I wonder how that's going to sync up.
How many devices do you have that on?
Oh, at least like 3 or 4, I think.
Wow, holy cow.
I got it on Steam, I got it on the Switch, and I think both iOS and Android.
Slay the Spire does not have that, right? Because I think that was what was keeping me from trying to play it on the on Android. It was all of my save activity is on the Switch.
I think it's segregated by platform still. I will play it on both my phone and my tablet sometimes, and they have the same leaderboards. But like I'll open up one of them, and I think I'll have 2 separate games going, so it gets very confusing. I like put one down and pick up the other one, and it's like a different character. I'm like, what was going on with this deck? What cards are in here?
Oh, interesting. But that doesn't talk to the Switch version of the PC version, obviously.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. Huh. That should be mandatory.
I mean, in the perfect world, I think everything would just use the same saves.
Yeah.
Right? Is that good? Is there any downside to that? Will people want to have different saves? I don't know.
Well, I mean, you pick multiple characters, right? Different saves. It doesn't have to be different on. What am I trying to say? I don't know. How do video games work?
Unless you really do like grinding out all those attachments separately on each platform. Maybe
then you just
that's
start a new character. Is my
it.
point. You don't have to like.
Oh yeah, no, you can just set up a new profile in Slay the Spire.
That's the word.
Yeah.
I wonder if Battlefield or Slay the Spire will be coming to the Switch 2 this week.
Oh, like they're going to announce it for the Switch 2?
Yeah. I
can answer that for you. I know Battlefield will not. like come on. Maybe Slay the Spire. I mean, I imagine Slay the Spire 2 will be on the Switch 2. I don't know if it'll be part of the presentation.
How bananas would it be?
Could you imagine that Slay the Spire 2 was there? Because the presentation has already happened at this point in time when people are listening to this. What a shock.
So we are recording this in the past, which is not surprising. We are mere hours away from the Switch 2 Direct, where they will inevitably announce pricing and release date and launch games, we're assuming. But DJ and I don't know any of that information yet. But you, listener, in the future will know that information already.
Yeah.
And that makes you smarter than us.
It's really infuriating how they time these things. Because they don't
time it to the recording of Video Game Hangover podcasts.
Well, that too. But for me, they're showing this at 6 a.m, which is like, okay, I'm not getting up for that. They need to either make it like a couple hours later or a couple hours earlier, and I'll just stay up for it. But like 6 is just like, ugh.
Well, what time is that in Tokyo? I assume that's what determines it, right?
I think it's in the evening there, which I imagine is not ideal for them. But I think this is the one that is like the most acceptable across all the major time zones where they expect people to be watching. Except for the west coast of the US, I guess.
Except for the 6 or 7 people that live in California.
Yeah. I think it's fairly late in the evening in Japan, but I don't know exactly.
That would make sense.
But can you believe it? Can you believe all the stuff they showed off? I don't know. It's too late for this bit.
Yeah. What game would get you to buy a Switch 2 at launch? Is there a game that would get you to buy a Switch 2 at launch? Because I think maybe you and I are aligned in like, I don't know if I necessarily need this on the very first day.
Yeah, I don't know what it is at this point, honestly. I don't think it's Mario Kart. I don't think it's even Metroid 4. Yeah.
And those seem like kind of the obvious ones, right?
I think those will both be there, right? At least that's what they said yesterday morning. I don't know. I can't keep doing this. I assume Metroid Prime 4 will be there early on. But beyond that, I don't know. There's not going to be a new Zelda game. What if there was a new Zelda game? Would that be enough to get me on board?
Maybe that's where the Twilight Princess and not Phantom Hourglass. What's the other one called? The cell shaded one. Toon Link.
The Wind Waker.
No, Wind Waker. Maybe
that wouldn't do it. That wouldn't do it.
No.
For me.
Yeah.
I played both of those.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would be a good way to get a Zelda game on your shiny new device.
Oh yeah, just to have like Zelda representation. Yeah, that would be good. That would be smart. Maybe a new Mario, like a new 3D Mario. But I think like between Mario Kart and Metroid Prime 4, which is definitely happening, their first party window already seems pretty stacked. So
I also don't know that we would get a Mario Kart and a 3D Mario in the same day. I suspect Nintendo would stretch those out.
Yeah, I'm almost surprised that, I mean, hypothetically, that they would release anything in addition to Mario Kart. And actually, going back even further, I'm surprised that they would make Mario Kart a launch game, because I feel like everybody's going to get that anyway. So you gotta separate the people who are buying the Switch 2 on launch no matter what, and the people who will buy one for Mario Kart when that comes out no matter what.
I mean, there's still like 1 million people a year buying new copies of the old Mario Kart. So it's surprising to me that they're going to turn that faucet off so they can turn the Mario Kart 10 or whatever, 9 faucet on.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's a weird situation because like Mario Kart 8, there's so much in it now. There's so many courses. Like the new Mario Kart it's got to be pretty good to get people to forget that other one exists.
Yeah. I mean, Mario Kart 8 was getting new courses up until last year.
Yeah. It's like if they ever make a new Smash Brothers, it's like, how do you top the previous one, which had every single Smash Brothers character in it? Because I imagine that would be difficult to do again. So they're just going to roll out a game and be like, hey, play our new game with fewer characters in it, and your favorite is probably not in there anymore. Just like numerically speaking, the odds are not good.
Start over with 12 characters, and we'll drip feed you new ones over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
I know my sort of inner joke for the new Smash, and I'm not invested in this at all, but it would be super funny if this was the case, is you get, from day one, you get all of the Nintendo characters, but over time they start adding PlayStation, Xbox, and, what was the Warner Brothers one that had like Batman and Scooby-Doo in it?
The multiverses, like refugees.
Multiverses, yeah.
It's like, they shut our game down. We gotta go somewhere else now.
Yeah. You'd have a match of Smash Brothers that is Mario, Luigi, Master Chief, and I pick somebody else.
Scooby-Doo.
God of War in it.
There's the titular God of War.
Yes, that's his name, isn't it? God of War.
Yeah, no, God of War. Everybody loves
Mr. the God of War.
That guy.
Nathan Drake, that's his name.
Nathan Drake. Yeah, they got Uncharted in here. Master Chief. They got Halo versus Uncharted. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to say everybody's here, everybody's got to be here. I mean, hey, you're playing Xbox games on the Switch at this point. Anything is possible in a world like this.
It's true. Yeah. Maybe there'll be a crazy Microsoft announcement during the Switch thing. Which, again, already happened.
I would love a 3D Mario. I would love if that 3D Mario is Super Mario Odyssey 2, but I don't know if that's in the cards for aforementioned reasons. And certainly Animal Crossing. If there was an Animal Crossing day one, I'd be all over that. But that does not really feel like it's in the cards either. I think there'd be some inkling of that so far, presumably, right?
I don't know. I think they've got to show something that is just a complete surprise, because I feel like there's a lot of stuff that we already know about. Yeah.
I mean, even the console itself is like, ta-da.
Yeah.
Like just the most fine whatever of product reveals. So yeah, I don't know. Everything about it had leaked already, except for the launch lineup. So maybe that's what the heart of of yesterday's presentation is.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hope they announce Super Mario Sunshine too, just to make people very confused.
Yeah. Or it's just going to be 45 minutes on what the C button does.
It could be.
Theories? You have a theory? What is your number one top of your list theory of the C button?
I have no idea, because the share button is still there, right? Or the screenshot button?
Yes. The plus and minus buttons.
I feel like that's just start and select from before. But if the C button is anything, I would expect it would be like a social sharing button.
Yeah.
But like I said, the screenshot button is there. That's sort of the share button on PlayStation and Xbox sort of do the same thing. It's like a combination screenshot or media capture and share feature. So maybe that is just two buttons on the Switch too. I don't know.
The only thing that
I've been teasing it quite a bit.
Yeah, well, I think it's sort of the great unknown about this thing thus far. So we're looking for mysteries. Yeah. I'm curious if it will have onboard streaming, that if that's the button you push and it just takes you right to Twitch or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's the same as the share button on PlayStation.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not going to be a gameplay thing, though. It's got to be something more auxiliary, like the share features.
Right.
I mean, that's why it's confusing to me that it's called the C button, or at least it looks like it should be called the C button, because that was previously that was the camera on the N64, and then it turned into that weird C stick on the GameCube. So when people just say, oh, it has a C button, I think, oh, that is something you'll be using to control the game you're playing somehow. But I think it's not going to be what it does.
All right. Well, we already know, so.
Yeah. This is the absolute worst timing for this segment. It's like, let's get those last-minute hypotheticals in.
Right. Yep. So, our listeners, if you're sitting in your car right now listening to this episode and screaming at your radio, we apologize.
They already announced it's going to be, I don't know.
Yep.
The button that sends an email directly to Reggie Fils-Aimé asking him when Mother 3 is coming up.
Please come back. Yep. All right. Well, what else we got going on? We streamed Cryptmaster last week. Played the demo for that on Steam. It was a lot of fun.
It was surprisingly good.
Yeah. So much fun that we actually are going to go back and play the whole game.
Probably.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So what was the hook with Cryptmaster?
The hook was it's typing of the dead, but you're in a dungeon.
Yes. Okay.
Typing of the dead, but you're in a dungeon. It's a dungeon crawler. You have a party of 4 adventurers. I mean, it's not quite typing of the dead, but it does have a lot of words and letters in it.
The comparison I read was Dungeons and Dragons meets Scribblenauts.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I forgot about that. I don't know how much Scribblenauts it is.
Well, I mean, Scribblenauts, you'd be presented with a scenario and you would just type in any word on your 3DS that would summon a thing. A car, a T-Rex, or whatever, a sword.
I mean, it's a little bit of that, but it's not quite the same. Because like in Scribblenauts, when you did that, the object, whatever you typed in, would just appear. And that was sort of the conceit of it, is somehow it had like anything you could possibly think of. And like that doesn't really happen in Cryptmaster, although I was surprised at many points we would just like type things in, and the character, the Cryptmaster who you're speaking with the entire time, would have like a specific response to whatever you just typed in.
Right, to the incorrect word that you just typed in.
Yeah, which was very amusing and like very impressive. And I would love to see like a behind the scenes sort of documentary on how they made this, because like not only was that in the game somewhere, like in some database, but all of his responses are just like voiced lines that they had to record. So at one point they just sat this guy down, whoever did the voice for the Cryptmaster, and was like, okay, today in the studio, you're just going to be reading a list of 1,000 lines responding to every possible dungeon-related word somebody could type in.
Yeah, that was surprising. And not just because it was sort of a canned, like, oh, I don't know that word, or why would you say that? But like actually like playing off of the thing specifically that you mentioned, even though it wasn't the correct answer in that situation.
Yes.
But to your point, it was a little bit more like a Wheel of Fortune kind of thing. You would unlock letters, and the letters would fill in empty spaces in your party's kind of abilities. And if you could kind of guess your way through what that word was, it would unlock that ability for that character.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're moving room to room and exploring and opening treasure chests and trying to mystery guess the letters that fill the word of the thing that's in the chest, and that unlocks a letter for you to unlock more abilities and lather, rinse, repeat.
There were a lot of different sort of like takes on the whole Wheel of Fortune thing happening in this, or a lot of different ways that involve letters and just like typing on a keyboard, because like all your party member skills were sort of secret words that you had to unlock, like Wheel of Fortune style.
Right.
But then like the health of all your party members were based on their names. Like each letter was 1 hit point essentially, and that was also the case for all the enemies you ran into. So we kept running into enemies with like these weird sort of like I don't know, monstery names. And it turned out like it took me a while to catch on to this, but like that was just the number of times you needed to hit them, or that was how much damage you needed to do to finally defeat them. It was based on however long their name was, which I thought was pretty clever.
Yeah, mechanically there were some interesting things going on that weren't quite clear to me initially, and I think you and I both had a moment later in the demo where I was like, oh, I think I get it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a learning curve, but as soon as you figure out most of the stuff that's going on, it was very satisfying.
Yeah.
You would occasionally lock out specific letters as well. Like I think we ran into an enemy where you couldn't type R or S or something, or he would just block any words using those. So you have to kind of work around that. Lots of fun stuff going on. It's very very well thought out and clever game.
A very striking visually too, all black and white kind of line drawings. It can look a little messy sometimes. We're not quite sure what I'm looking at, but if anyone remembers, this is the game that I kind of go back to, MHWilds on the Wii.
Oh yeah.
I thought it looked a lot like that. But yeah, there's not a lot of games that look like this. Big talking skull face for the Cryptmaster himself, kind of hosting your way through the game. It was cool. It was really kind of pleasantly surprising.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, the Cryptmaster is just fully voiced the whole time, which was it's been a while since I played a game with this much narration in it. I think of any of those Supergiant games like Bastion that really hyped up how much narration they had and how many sort of distinct events that the narrator could respond to. It just felt like playing something like that, where you couldn't believe that he's just talking the whole time and sort of telling you what to do, which is, I guess, kind of expected. But yeah, as soon as you start typing in stuff and he has custom responses to everything, it just sort of blew my mind. Oh wow, this is much more of a much larger component to this than I was expecting. I just thought he was just going to be a weird talking skull who was just kind of there.
I liked too that the game presented you with with two options for kind of approaching it. You could go fully turn-based, which kind of allowed you as much time as you wanted to kind of guess your word.
Oh yeah,
with a sort of limited number of tries, or you could play it in real time and have to guess super fast while you're fighting against other enemies who are also attacking you.
Yeah. I think that's where it gets closest to being something like Typing of the Dead, where if you just know all of your party members' abilities very well, you could very easily just rattle them off as quickly as you can type them. But since this was the first time either of us had played this, I think the turn-based option was the way to go.
Yeah. And you and I were stumped by some of the words and we're really having trouble kind of guessing them. But the good news is we had some very smart people from the VGH community in our chat on Twitch who were throwing out ideas and words that we could try. So that was very helpful. We were kind of crowdsourcing our way through the Cryptmaster demo.
Yeah. I think that was probably my favorite part. That, and also whenever you open up a treasure chest, you have to type whatever you think is in the chest, and the Cryptmaster would give you various hints. Actually, it was basically playing an old PC adventure game where you just had the text parser. So you would type in look at object or whatever, and you could ask him to observe or feel or smell the object. And he would give you a hint. And I really enjoyed that. That is not really something that comes up in a lot of games, I guess, because a lot of games don't just have this freeform text entry option. But that was a lot of fun. And then just trying to decipher all the character abilities based on the very slight bit of background information you have about them. One of the characters was a thief or something like that. So we were oh, what sort of thief abilities? It's what's a 5-letter word ending in D that is something a thief would do? And then we'd sort of throw that back and forth. We're I don't think that's what it is.
Cool. Yeah, so this was a lot of fun. So much fun. We're going to, like I said, attempt to play the whole game coming up. So it's not really intended to be a 2-player game, but DJ and I are going to try to experience it together. So we want to dig a little deeper. We'll play through the demo part again, and we'll get into the main game. It's not that long. At least the demo wasn't that long.
No.
So make sure you tune in on Monday, April 7th at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be digging back into Cryptmaster and hopefully getting beyond the confines of the demo and seeing a little bit more of the game.
Yeah, I think we could probably blast through the demo section pretty quickly, and then, who knows what happens afterward.
The stakes become even higher.
You get even longer words you type in. I don't know.
Multi-syllable words, yeah.
Ooh.
But yeah, go to twitch.tv/VGHangover Monday night, April 7th, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be playing more Cryptmaster.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've enjoyed a game enough during our Monday night streams that I just want to keep streaming it. I mean, I've certainly that was fun. Let's play more of that. And I don't always get around to them, unfortunately.
I mean, I'll play more Slay the Spire anytime.
Yeah, that's true too.
Just putting that out there. But this one was like, I should play more of this right away. It was really good.
I should spend some money on this.
I did play, I did end up continuing Wanderstop. Although I don't know if I loved that game. So
did you finish it?
No, I got kind of like probably the third or so chapter into it, and I'll like go back to it every once in a while. But it never really like grabbed me. I felt like I owed it to Davey Reed, and just because I liked his other stuff so much. And also, I felt weirdly conflicted because the whole game appears to be an allegory for him, like having a lot of reservation about delivering a third game. So I feel bad that I'm just like, it's not as good as the other ones.
You should really make a fourth game.
Yeah.
I'm a little lukewarm on it too. I've been playing more of it. I do still find it kind of compelling, and I do want to sort of see where the story goes. I've really liked some of the characters and interactions, and the writing in it is exceptional. I just it feels like a little bit of a slog.
It's a little, kind of repetitive.
Yeah,
I really like the character who's like a weird little like kind of owl gremlin girl or something. Did you meet that character already?
It does not sound familiar.
I think it was in like chapter 2, but okay. At this point, she like
that's where I am now. Yeah,
I don't remember the exact circumstances of why she's there. So I think she came from a distant land or something like that. But every time she replies to you, I think she made some sort of weird noises, like or just like weird, like what is this person? And it was very amusing. And I hope that she comes back to the Wanderstop at some point.
I'm curious. I want to see how it plays out. I'm sure I'll stick with it. I have stuck with it up to this point, but I'll weigh in when I get to the end.
Yeah.
What else have we been playing? I've been playing, and I've talked about this. I think I teased it last week and didn't get around to talking about it, so we should probably start with Death of the Reprobate.
What is this? Okay with you.
Yeah. So this is a point-and-click adventure game by Joe Richardson. He has made previous games similar to this. Procession to Cavalry, which I think I talked about on the show at one point or another.
I remember that one. That was the one where everything is like all the art. Anyway, it looks like just an old medieval like tapestry. Is that the right term for that?
Yeah. Yes, that's kind of his thing. He had a previous game before that called Four Last Things, and his brand, Joe Richardson's brand, is using public domain art. And a lot of medieval art and music to assemble a point-and-click adventure game. And he does a lot of like cut and paste animation, so everything is kind of like marionettes and kind of herky-jerky. It looks a little bit like a lot of the old Monty Python skits where they used to do animation.
That's what I was going to say. It looks like all the weird like Monty Python animation.
Yeah, which is basically them cutting characters out of medieval paintings and making their like jaws flap to talk and stuff like that. So that's basically what all of Joe Richardson's games look like. They have a very sort of bawdy Monty Python kind of sense of humor as well. Definitely a little more PG-13, if not rated R occasionally. There's a lot of like dick and fart jokes in it, in all of his games. You have the character you play in Death of the Reprobate is basically kind of the right hand torturer of the kingdom. Your character's name is Malcolm the Shit.
Okay.
And he thinks of creative ways to sort of like make life miserable for the people in this kingdom, and to punish, criminals and things like that.
Oh, is he like working for the king, and he has to torture people who are like, oh, okay. He's not just like a guy who goes around torturing people?
No, but he likes his job, and he likes being horrible. Yeah. He is Malcolm the Shit with pride. There's a character that's accused of, I forget what the crime was, but his way of torturing him was to sort of cast his privates in cement and then to show him a painting of a boob.
Okay.
So this is the sense of humor in this kind of, and so the king is dying. His name is Immortal John, so there's a joke there.
Yeah.
And he wants you to take over the crown, but the challenge is you have to sort of repent. You have to be a better person. So he wants you to go out in the kingdom and do 7 good things.
The torturer guy is the first in line?
He may be Immortal John's son. Maybe he's the prince.
Oh, okay.
So the game is you go out into the vast kingdom, which is all cut and paste artwork from medieval paintings, and interact with characters and try to look for places where you can do good deeds and solve people's problems and help people who are in trouble. And you do this quite reluctantly and with zero enthusiasm. Yeah. And so this is some very funny writing there and some very chaotic sort of situations that you get yourself into. You're trying to sort of like classic point and click games, you're collecting things and looking for the right places to sort of apply them. You're talking to one person and they'll give you a hint to something that happens across the map, and then you go help that other person and it bounces you back. So you're knitting all of these little threads together across the game. It feels very much like a Monkey Island kind of situation, like a classic point and click situation. I don't play a ton of these games, but I have enough of a sort of memory of some of the ones that I have played over time to know this kind of checks all the boxes, I think. But yeah, it's a comedy game, and comedy is hard in video games, I think.
Yeah.
And obviously this is a very specific sense of humor, and I think from my description, you probably know whether or not this is your sense of humor, but it's I think it's a riot. I think all of his games are a riot. Not all the jokes quite work for me, but there's enough of an undercurrent of just like goofy R-rated humor to it that I find very, very funny. And I love how much runway he's able to milk out of just using public domain art and public domain music. It's really pretty impressive.
All the music is public domain as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all like medieval. It's like public domain performances of basically medieval music. So none of it is copywritten anymore, unless the performance itself is copywritten. But I imagine he's using Creative Commons or fair use stuff. So yeah, it's really pretty impressive how, the only budget in the game is basically his time and art talent, essentially. Yeah, and all of his assets are free. But yeah, super funny. It's a very good time. It's not even incredibly long. You can kind of get through it in probably 4 or 5 hours. All of his games are pretty kind of short, sharp. They're basically a couple episodes of a sitcom knitted together, essentially. They all have these kind of equally goofy kind of sensibilities and sense of humors to them. This one feels like the best. It feels like kind of the breeziest. It feels like there were a few scenarios in Procession of Cavalry where like, I don't know what to do next. I'm not sure where I should be going. I talked to everybody already and they just keep repeating the same lines over and over again, which is frustrating in any game. This one feels a little more full featured and a little easier to navigate, a little easier to kind of knit all the pieces together and, make the connections for the people you're talking to in the environment so that you can kind of proceed on to the next thing. Yeah, it's good. I've had a good time with it. I really like these.
And they're like you said, they're roughly just the same format, sort of like a new episode or a new setting with each one. They're just kind of the typical point and click thing.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any characters that carry over between the 3 games, but so they're not like sequels to each other or anything, but they're definitely sort of like the same brand and the same writer and the same, I keep saying sensibility, but there's definitely sort of like, I suspect, and I don't know who Joe Richardson is. I've never seen interviews with him or anything like that, but I suspect he finds this shit hysterical.
I was just thinking the whole time, like, it sounds like something that he just put together, like, in his free time because he thinks it's the funniest thing like imaginable,
Right.
and just completely incidentally, other people happen to enjoy it as well. Like it doesn't even matter to him that other people are into it or even like buying these things. Like he would probably still be doing this, even if nobody else ever even saw it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the story behind it, but that seems highly likely. Like the first one was probably like, oh, I made this for me and my friends. And it sold, 100 million copies or something like that. And now it's a whole industry. I don't know if any of that is true or not, but it definitely seems like this weird little accident. I can't think of a single other game that exists that I'm aware of that like feels like this or plays like this. So it's a pretty unique proposition. So the fact that it clicked and he's been able to sort of like make 3 of them and sell enough copies of them on Steam to continue making them is pretty wild.
That is really cool.
Yeah,
that's like the best kind of art where it's just like I made this thing that should really only be for me, but it's amazing that other people like it as well, and he's able to make a career off of that, or at least like enough to keep these things going.
Right, to fuel the next one, right?
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's, there's a few stories like that I can think of through kind of gaming history, and Balatro is very much that. He's been very clear of saying that he thought, like, maybe 6 people would play this game. I mean, the Wordle guy basically built Wordle for him and his friends to play, and then the New York Times bought it and spent a ton of money on it, and, I think that's cool. That's maybe it's not the dream, but it's just a happy coincidence. That definitely sort of changes the shape of your life from that point forward.
Well, I can't wait till the New York Times buys Death of the Reprobate or whatever the next one is. Maybe you should have some sort of like Wordle hook in the next one. Yep.
I mean, that you could do a Wordle Cryptmaster crossover.
I was thinking, the Wordle, or there is a Wordle and Cryptmaster connection somewhere in there, where I think it's like when you are, because you have the 5 chances to guess whatever's in the chest, I think, like 5 or 6 attempts before you just don't get whatever's in there. So we're just like, what else could this possibly be based on his weird clues? So it's
and it locks you out from guessing further, and you don't get the thing in the chest, which is like using your last try on Wordle and resetting your...
you lose your streak.
Your streak up to that point, yeah.
Oh, I think we always guessed what was in the chest, though, so I felt pretty good about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they must
get harder as you progress, but...
Yeah. So not to just go back to Cryptmaster. It was just like, I felt like I enjoyed that more than everything else that was going on in that game, which I was like, oh man, this is so... It's like such a small piece of everything else that's happening, but I really do wish it was just like 100... more puzzles of just talking to the weird skull head about what's in the chest. Like, what is this?
They should just add DLC. It's 100 more treasure chests.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I want. There we go. Maybe I will just hire a spooky British man to like describe objects to me. I'll be like, oh, I know what it is. I know what that is.
Yeah. I mean, what you really want is Wordle, but all of the answers are like RPG weapons and torture devices. Yeah.
Oh man. That probably existed during those couple of weeks where just everybody was doing their own Wordle spinoff. It's just like, yeah, we got the medieval torture implements Wordle. See how many you can get.
Right. Well, and that's where Death of the Reprobate comes in, and Malcolm the Shit is your host through all of the torture devices. Yeah. So is it
voiced?
No.
No. Well, maybe they could hire the Cryptmaster.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. So this is called Death of the Reprobate. It's on Steam. I don't think it's on anything else. All 3 of Joe Richardson games are on Steam. You can buy a bundle of them. In fact, if any of this sounds crazy enough to you that you'd want to buy all 3 of them at one shot, I think they're really fun and would recommend.
What is the 3rd one? So you talked about Procession of the Cavalry.
Yep.
And then there's one more. Did you play that
4 Last Things.
That's right.
That's the first one. And I did play that one. I think I played that one like immediately after Procession of Cavalry.
Oh, and it's just another kind of same deal.
Yeah, although a little more a little more janky, a little less sort of refined. I think he's sort of figured out the secret sauce as he's proceeded here. And the third one is sort of like the slickest, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're all good. They're all funny.
All right. Yeah, I should check one of these out. I really enjoy, like, when you were talking about Procession to Cavalry. I was like, I can't, like, one, I just can't believe that this exists. And yeah, I would like to check it out. It's so tough to do comedy well in a game.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't think of like 10 really funny video games, you know? So the fact that 3 of these have worked and they've been able to keep it up, I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Precision Cavalry is my favorite. If you want to play any of the 3, I think that's the place to start. It's weird to start in the middle, but I think it's the best of the 3. Yeah, all are good.
Well, maybe I'll just go there directly then.
Yeah. I know you like playing games in order.
Well, I mean, a lot of the time it's mostly for just the context, but I could see myself like, yeah, if I really enjoy Possession of Cavalry, I'll go back to the first one and see how we got from here to there, and like that sort of thing. Unless there's like a very strong like narrative tie between all of them, and then I'm just like, well, why wouldn't you play them all in order?
Right. There is not. No, it's not sort of like they're not direct sequels or anything like that, and you know. There's no unanswered questions from Procession of Cavalry that are finally resolved in Death of the Reprobate.
Yeah.
That would be quite a commitment to your bit, though, I think. Yeah.
If there was just like some background character in one of these paintings, we're like, oh,
it's
what
that
happened
guy.
to him?
Yep. What else have we been playing? You've been digging into Monster Hunter, you said, and Final Fantasy quite a bit lately.
Yeah.
What's going on in those worlds?
I'm just in my zone. Like, I'm playing a lot of Monster Hunter because it's just like you can't get just halfway into Monster Hunter. I feel like you just have to get all the way in. But I feel like I'm enjoying it much more than I was like a few weeks ago, and I feel like it's just because I've gotten to the point where I can like play it on my own terms, and this is sort of like following up on the sort of like lukewarm experience I had closing out Infinite Wealth a few weeks earlier. Is that towards the end of the game, I was just like rushing through the end of it so I could like have it out of the way before Monster Hunter came out. So
right.
At some point, it stopped being this thing that I was playing just because I enjoyed playing it, and it turned into like a thing I had to complete. I was like obligated to get to the last chapters of it. But like, even though I was ostensibly enjoying that game right to the end. And then with Monster Hunter Wilds, like I've played a lot of Monster Hunter. I know what it's like to play Monster Hunter, and I just was looking forward to that experience again, as much as it's like, I don't know how much any one Monster Hunter game has really like evolved the series. I mean, certainly there have been some large leaps here and there, but it does feel like each one is more iterative than sort of like evolutionary. But like, I'm kind of fine with that because I enjoy the general Monster Hunter experience. And the issue I was having with Wilds, with the latest one, is that it's so story focused this time around, which is not like, it's not a particularly story heavy game, but it's definitely the most story focused it's been out of any Monster Hunter game, where it like starts you up and there's a big opening cutscene and everything, and then rather than just putting you into like the quest hub or like the guild hub where you would pick up monster hunt contracts essentially in the previous games, you like talk to NPCs, and the NPCs will sort of shuffle you off to the next area where you fight the next monster as a part of this story that's unfolding. And it just feels like you are so sort of like taken from one point to the next in the story that anytime you try to just step away from it and do a hunt on your own, like go after another monster, because you can still do that. Like you can still pick up hunt like contracts, or I forget what they called, like hunt bills. No, that's Final Fantasy. Just other quests off the quest board in the village. If you want to hunt another monster that is not the next biggest story target, like you can do that. And that is sort of the experience that I expect from a Monster Hunter game. But every time you complete one of these quests, it just puts you back in the village, and you're right in front of the story NPC, or the next like NPC you need to talk to. Has a big marker over their head, and they're just like, oh yeah, make sure you talk to this person. And in some cases, because there are multiple sort of like villages in Monster Hunter Wilds that are spread across all the different environments in the game, you'll finish a quest and it'll just immediately sort of like teleport you over to whatever other village is the most plot relevant at that point, so you can make sure that it's like easiest for you to talk to the NPC. And I just felt like man, it is just railroading me so much to do the story, and it's not letting me fight the monsters I want to hunt. Oh, I mean, it is letting me, but it's just making it more difficult than I would like it to be. That I was getting sort of frustrated with it.
Huh. So was there like a big like hunger for more like narrative content in the Monster Hunter games? I've never gotten the impression that they've been story driven, so I'm a little surprised that this is the detour for the new one.
Well, there's always been some subset of the community which is like, oh, I wish there was more story in these games, and I think I'd like to imagine that it was most of the community who would say like, no, we don't need a story, because that's not really what we're here for. Like, we're just here to fight video game bosses. But I think it's really helped them expand the audience, because I think people respond to a sort of story component, or especially like a big flashy campaign, very well, and that's sort of like what draws people in, or it draws in certain demographics anyway, who might not have otherwise played Monster Hunter if it's just this series of sort of arbitrary boss battles.
Right. Well, I mean, it makes the thing more accessible, right? A little more palatable, and that's, it seems like that has been the arc of Monster Hunter games over the last several years, is like, how do we get more people to the party?
It definitely has been, yeah. I think the heaviest, I mean, like Monster Hunter World, which is when it like really exploded, was the most story they'd had in one of these games. They had like sort of an actual campaign, like there are all these cutscenes, which were so much more elaborate than anything they had previously. And then now again in Wilds, it's like even more elaborate. And like for the most part, the cutscenes are really cool. They're like very exciting. And I mean, well, let me backpedal for a second. What I really liked, or the cutscenes that I really liked in Wilds, is when you sort of like stumble into the monster's lair, and like the monster will appear, and it'll be kind of a big dramatic reveal. And then the best part is it goes sort of seamlessly from the cutscene showing your like custom hunter character to just putting you right into the game. Like you just start playing from the cutscene, which is really cool, which is really exciting. But then there are all these other scenes, like these are the ones that I don't like, where you're just like in a camp talking to other NPCs about what the monsters might be doing, or you're like trying to uncover some like ecological mystery that's happening. And I'm just like, that's really not why I'm here. I'm not here for the mystery of these monsters. I'm just like, I just want to fast forward through all of this.
Yeah.
But like that really works for some people. I guess they really like they're just like, what's going to happen next? Who are all these people and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Do the Monster Hunter games have like recurring characters? Are there? I don't know. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Not really. And although this is a weird instance to ask that about, because I think they're like the community has figured out that some of the characters in Monster Hunter Wilds are actually several characters who appeared in previous Monster Hunter games, but that is like it's completely irrelevant. They're not like, oh yeah, now that I have played that other Monster Hunter game, I understand these characters better. It's like, no, it's just sort of a fun Easter egg. At least that's how I see it.
More time with Davy Monster Hunter.
Yeah. No, I mean, like there are a lot of monsters that have been in previous games, but that is sort of just expected.
Oh yeah, I mean those are the characters, right? In a lot of ways, right? Because they do like greatest hits compilations of some of these boss fights, right?
Yeah.
It was the Monster Hunter, was it Legends, right? Was all like a
Monster Hunter Generations.
Yeah, revisiting all the old monsters, right?
Yeah. Why do you know that? That's impressive.
As I have hosted this thing for 11 years with you, and
I am like, I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
I've played like 2 hours of Monster Hunter in my entire life, but I know all this stuff.
Yeah. I was thinking, like, every time one of these comes out, I'm like, I know Randy will not like this, but what is the version of this that he would dislike the least? And I was trying to think, because you always talk about how you like being a medic in like Battlefield or whatever, and you can kind of do that in this. There's like the hunting horn weapon, which is geared more towards being a support role for your group. Like you play these songs on it, and they like give your party buffs or heal them and stuff like that. And you can build an armor set that amplifies your healing abilities, and you can support the party that way. So I was like, there is kind of a way to create a healer spec in Monster Hunter, but it's not really like, I don't think it's enough to turn you into a Monster Hunter fanatic.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, but I mean, the prospect of hunting anything in a video game does not always sound like fun to me. You and I played it's either a demo or it was like a free play weekend in one of the previous ones. And it was like the monster you were trying to kill had like little baby monsters. And like you wore down, like you kill the babies and then you wore down the health on the mom, and it was like limping back to its den to heal. And I was like, no, let it go. This feels really bad. I don't feel good about this at all.
Yeah. There's another weird thing about how the series has progressed, because I feel like in the older ones, it was always like, okay, you're living in this remote village. That's just how people live in the Monster Hunter civilization, and it's the role of the hunters to like fend off these big monsters that will like eat the villagers. So, you're there to protect people living in the village. And I was like kind of okay with that. Like, that's fine. And then it has gradually turned into like, I think in Monster Hunter World, you're basically like colonizers going to this new continent and setting up, and like you were bringing back monsters for the commission to study. It's like, I don't know what's going on here. And it's a little bit of the same thing as going on in Wilds. It's like, okay, well, this is very different than those other games. Yeah. So, at the end of the day, it's just a video game, so I don't feel too bad about it, but it is a little like, okay, so why do you need all these monster parts? Something I do think is hilarious about this is just like, as a side effect of it being sort of like a persistent world this time, is when you trap a monster, like you can put down a big snare trap and then hit it with a tranquilizer bomb, it'll go to sleep. And in the previous games, when you did that, the quest would just end and you'd be teleported back to the village. And I think in Monster Hunter World, you just see the sleeping monster in sort of like the observation area or whatever, where they can study it. But in this one, like, you tranquilize the monster, it goes to sleep, it throws up the big quest complete thing and gives you all your rewards, and then it just leaves you standing in the open world next to the sleeping monster you just captured. And if you stand there for long enough, the monster will just like get up and walk away. And the first time I saw that, I was like, oh, wait a minute. It's like, it's back for round 2 or whatever. But no, it just sort of like walks into the distance and I think probably just fades out for whatever reason. Like, they just for some technical requirement, they just couldn't leave a sleeping monster in the field forever as you go and accept other quests. But I think it's just hysterical. It's like they're just shooting a stage play or something, and it's like, yeah, we got it. Okay, it's like
I'll be in my trailer.
Cut. Yeah, the monster just goes away. That's really good.
It's the remember the Looney Tunes Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner? Like, there's an episode where, like, at the end of the skit, the two of them like walk off stage and they clock out and they say goodnight, and we'll see you tomorrow. Same time tomorrow, same time tomorrow, and they come back the next day and punch in and do it all over again.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
So maybe that's some way you could justify it. That's like, oh, they're all just actors. They're just playing their parts for this video game. Okay, but anyway, so at some point, I got through like enough of the story where it rolled credits, and for some reason now there's like more story, and I think there may even be a second set of credits later on. But it's just it's not like railroading me quite as much as it was previously, and now I can just do quests whenever I want, and it doesn't like teleport me back to the next village where I don't want to be. And now it just feels so much more like Monster Hunter to me. And I can just do that all day. And that is good. That's all I really wanted out of this game.
Well, good.
Yeah. So it's weird that it starts out with there being so much just restrictions around the story, because that was just like, oh, it's not the experience I want. Yeah. It's like whenever they have a new campaign in a Battlefield game, like that's another case where suddenly those games, they had like a single player story. They weren't just multiplayer anymore. And those campaigns were not good. But fortunately, you could still just play the multiplayer. For some reason in Monster Hunter, it just forces you to do all the story quests before it really just like cuts you loose and lets you sort of like freeform hunt however you want.
Oh, but you're not given the option at the beginning, like, do you want to play the campaign or do you want to just jump in?
Yeah, it's not like a separate mode in the menu. You start off and, you're immediately just doing mission 1 or like chapter 1 of the campaign. Which I like, again, after you finish the sort of campaign beat for that point, you can just go off and hunt whatever you want before you accept the next campaign quest. But it does very like firmly remind you that, oh yeah, there's this one quest that's more important than all the other ones you have available, and you really should do this one before it unlocks more of the game for you.
What are you doing?
Yeah. So, but now I'm over it. Now I can just do whatever I want.
Well, cool.
Yeah, I'm generally feeling much better about it at this point. It's pretty good. Like, it's not like they ruined the actual hunting experience or anything. Like, that is still very good. I'm just like, I don't want to sit through all these cutscenes, and I don't really care who anybody is. I just want to go out and get components to build new armor and all that stuff.
Good. Well, that's a bit of a turnaround, because I got the impression you were not thrilled with it initially.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think last time I talked about some other weird changes they had made to, like, streamlining things, which are still, like, a little questionable to me, but I don't know how much there is to be done at this point about it. That's not I don't love that that's my reaction to it, is just sort of like to shrug it off and be like, well, what can you do? But overall, it's still a pretty good game. Still pretty fun.
Oh, good. I mean, you keep playing it. It can't be terrible.
Yeah, I gotta get the rest of my armor parts.
What is going on in the world of Final Fantasy XIV?
I'm just playing that too. Just my 2 games that never end. The new update came out this week? Last week. No, it was a week ago. And they added new raids and everything, and it's still it's great. I think last week I was complaining that everybody else was very negative around everything that was happening in the game.
Yeah.
But I'm not negative. I haven't been feeling that way, except because of all these other people who are just like giving me psychic damage with all their complainy posts. But the new update came out. Everybody seems to really enjoy it. I think it's really good. Like I did the new story mode raids, which are very fun and creative. the new the Savage difficulty ones just came out this week. I haven't really gotten into those yet, but I've been watching on Twitch like people doing the world race to clear them, and they look very very complicated. So looking forward to getting to that in the near future.
Cool.
Anyway, just a small update on that because that's really like all I've been playing other than Monster Hunter.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I haven't logged into Infinity Nikki in the last few days just because I just can't do all of these things at the same time. It was like Monster Hunter, Final Fantasy, Infinity Nikki. I've got the attention for like 2 out of 3.
Is there any new outfits or costumes in Infinity Nikki? I'm sure you're missing some stuff.
Oh, they just had a big update there too, and I was like, I don't have time for all these things. Yeah, there's of course there's a bunch of new stuff. They're just like, I'm impressed by just like how much stuff that they come out. They just add to that game every few months. No, it's good. It's good.
Cool. Yeah, that's one of those ones that I think I remember you saying at some point, like, you might like this. And I'm curious, but not enough to like dive in, particularly since I have so many other games I want to get to. I don't know that I can risk getting hooked on Infinity Nikki.
Yeah, I think like, I don't know if you would enjoy it, but I think like, I don't think a lot of people know whether they would really enjoy something like Infinity Nikki just because there are not a lot of other games similar to it.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of the thing that will like surprise you. Like, oh, I didn't realize I would enjoy this so much. I think you would like, I mean, a lot of it, like I was saying, it feels like Breath of the Wild in terms of just wandering the overworld and discovering things. That part I think you would really enjoy. I'm not so sure about like the fashion side of it, but just the exploration I think is very well done.
Yeah, I think the context I think you recommended it is my sort of desire for a Tomb Raider game that doesn't have any of the combat or, gunfights with dinosaurs or anything like that. It was just solving puzzles and climbing mountains and going from cool obstacle to discovery to cool obstacle.
I should add that, so as part of this event, and this was also in the previous event that just wrapped up, which is too bad because you can't play those quests anymore. They keep adding these sections, which are basically the like sort of the challenge levels from Super Mario Odyssey, or all the Mario games, or many of the recent 3D Mario games have had these sort of challenge levels.
Yeah.
Which tend to be more abstract than sort of the typical levels, like a bunch of floating blocks and everything that you have to platform over. Oh. But they have been getting progressively more difficult because these are in the base Infinity Nikki as well, and I felt fairly simple. Like as a Mario veteran, they're not especially challenging. But the more recent ones, I'm just like, oh, this is ramped up considerably compared to what was in here at launch. And I have not tried the latest set yet, but I've seen some people posting their like speed runs. And I was like, oh man, what is going on? Nikki, what are you doing? And you're just like jumping all over these things. Are people like jumping out of bounds in the map to like sort of speed run? It's kind of surprising.
People are speed running Infinity Nikki.
They are, yeah. There's who knew?
Wild.
So right. I don't know. Maybe you would be into that one particular component.
Well, maybe if I get some. I feel like I'm losing my voice. Sorry. I get some downtime on the PS5. I have not turned my PS5 on a very long time, and I don't know if I have any games coming up that will require that. But maybe Infinity Nikki is the one to check out.
Oh, I mean, the thing with Infinity Nikki is you can just play it on anything. Except for the Switch. Or maybe the Switch 2, since they just announced that it will be on the Switch 2 yesterday morning. I don't know.
We'll find out. Time will tell. If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, you should follow us on Blue Sky. Just search for what are we searching for? VGHangover.com. And you can always get show notes and links and tell us what you thought about this episode at VGHangover.com. We would love for you to join us on Discord. You can get a link to that at VGHangover.com as well to hang out with us and chat about video games and other fun stuff. We would love for you to subscribe, rate, and review us on your podcasting app of choice, be it Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, any of those things. Maybe hook us up with a referral to one of your friends when they say, hey, what's a good podcast I should listen to? Go Video Game Hangover. They have a bajillion episodes.
Yeah. We really appreciate anyone who does that. It helps us grow the listenership and just reach more people. So that is super exciting. What else is super exciting? RJ Lake. That's who did our intro and outro music for this week.
Heck yeah.
If you'd like to hear more of his work, you can go to spellmynamewithabang.bandcamp.com and get the rest of his discography right there. You should do that on Friday this week. I don't know why, but that'll be a great day to do it.
This Friday is not Bandcamp Friday, but
I knew it.
Yeah. There's not one of those until the first Friday in May, unfortunately. But you should still buy some of RJ Lake's music because it's good.
Yeah. Yeah, you should definitely do that.
We'll be back Monday night streaming Cryptmaster at twitch.tv/VGHangover at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Set your alarm clock. And we'll be back the week after that with a whole new episode for you. Until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Thanks so much for listening to Video Game Hangover. Goodbye.
Good night.
See ya.